Ever been in an argument and felt like you were just hitting a brick wall? You know, the feeling of frustration, of being completely stuck? Well, we've all been there. It's kind of like that moment when you know what you want to say, but you just can't seem to say it. And the other person just can't seem to understand what it is that you're actually trying to say. Usually, in those situations, our first instinct is to point the finger or to get defensive or just to shut down. But what if there's a better way? What if we can actually de escalate to actually understand? And in doing that, we can actually strengthen our relationships. Well, friends, there's actually a simple but powerful way of doing that, and it's called curiosity. If you haven't seen it, there's a scene in the brilliant show Ted Lasso that perfectly captures this idea. It's a simple darts game, but what Ted says in that moment is what changed my perspective on conflict forever. Ted talks about winning the game, and he tells Rupert just a little bit about his life philosophy. Ted explains that he's always been underestimated because people just assume that he's a simple football coach. But he goes on to say that guys have underestimated me my entire life for years. He just smiled and nodded. But then he realized, Rupert, that's not them underestimating me. That's them underestimating themselves. And that's the truth. You know what? When we actually approach conflict with accusations, with preconceived notions about what the other person is thinking, we're actually shutting down the possibility of understanding. And in doing that, we're not just underestimating them, we're actually underestimating ourselves to actually find a better solution. So instead of saying, you always do this or you never listen, what if we actually got genuinely curious? So here's 5 curious questions that you can use to actually transform your next conflict. Can you help me understand what happened from your perspective? Asking this question immediately invites them to actually share, showing you value their point of view. Here's another one. What was your intention when you did or said what you did? This actually helps them understand the disconnect between their intentions and the impact of their actions. What about what's most important to you in this situation? Asking this question, it actually cuts to the core and it actually helps them identify the underlying values or needs driving their behavior. Here's another one. How might we look at the situation differently to find a solution? This is a collaborative question and it shifts from who's right or wrong to how can we move forward together? Here's another one. What can I have done or what can I do to make this different? This is a powerful question because it really demonstrates your willingness to take responsibility and actually understand your perspective in the conflict. These questions aren't magic, but they are powerful tools, and they can actually transform a defensive standoff position to an actual open dialogue. And this will actually allow for new information to emerge, which will lead to a solution that is respected by both parties. So, next time you're in a conflict, I want you to think about Ted Lasso and his profound curiosity. Drop your accusations, pick up some questions. You might actually be surprised at what you learn.